Welcome along, everybody. After the Super Typhoon, it is now a Super Sunday. The storm has blown through from Suzuka, and it's time for the race. Round 17 of 21 in 2019. It is the 35th running of the World Championship Japanese Grand Prix, and the 31st time we've run it here at Suzuka. Japan, a country that possesses more than half of the industrial robots in the world. Today it's man and machine in harmony, and almost 75% of Japanese land is either forest or mountains. So where it is urban, everyone's squeezed into a very tight place. We'll be squeezing 20 cars into this 3.6-mile circuit this afternoon, 53 laps to come, and a run of 329 meters from pole down to the first braking point somewhere before turn 1. 18 corners then, 8 to the left and 10 to the right, and here is the run down to turn 1. Back in 1990, when a championship was decided at this very moment, Senna on the inside of Prost and both into the barriers. At Spoon Curve, Sebastian Vettel last year was having too many problems really to handle, sent into a spin of his own making with Max Verstappen on the outside of him. Vettel starts on pole today. We go back to 1989, where it was Senna and Prost again, and another championship decider and another crash, this time at the chicane. 3 compounds of tyre brought for this race, the C1, the C2 and the C3. The soft is the C3, and it's about 0.6 of a second faster per lap than the medium. The hard tyre about 1.4 seconds slower per lap. Here's the grid then for this afternoon's race. Sebastian Vettel with his first pole since Canada 10 races ago. Charles Leclerc making it Ferrari's third front row lockout of 2019. Valtteri Bottas out-qualified Lewis Hamilton for the first time since Hungary. Nobody's ever won from the second row here before. It's an all Red Bull row 3. Verstappen and Albon setting exactly the same time in the final part of Q3. Carlos Sainz, his first ever top 10 start, has his teammate Lando Norris for company on row 4. Then it's Pierre Gasly who reached Q3 for the first time since going back to Toro Rosso, ahead of Romain Grosjean. Antonio Giovinazzi out-qualified his teammate Kimi Raikkonen for the third race in a row. Lance Stroll starts 12th ahead of Raikkonen, who has his lowest start here since he won in 2005 from 17th. Then comes Danny Kvyat ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, who has his teammate Daniel Ricciardo for company. Disappointing qualifying for Renault. Sergio Perez missed out on Q2. He has George Russell alongside him. Kevin Magnussen's changed his gearbox after a crash in qualifying. Robert Kubica will start from the pit lane after his crash in qualifying, which was just a few hours ago. Paul di Resta, now time for the drivers to reset their brains and think about the race rather than flat-out speed.
Absolutely. Obviously they fill them in excess of 100 kilos of fuel, so they're already a bit slower, but time to take on some fuel themselves over a very short period at lunch. Even saw some of the drivers going to the parade in their suit, which is completely unknown because normally they've got nothing to do until after that, and that's when they start the preparation. But the mindset is different, but the reality is, Crofty, it doesn't impact anything. If you're on pole position, you're still the guy at the front of the grid, and it's all about how you can carry what you've learned on Friday and that day off yesterday and put it to good use. Some cars out of position, but at the same time a very different front row to what we expected, which is very good, because it's all for Mercedes to try and throw something at these Ferraris, because they cannot get on top of them since the summer break. But
15 wins from pole in the 30 races here in Formula 1 at Suzuka. How crucial is that qualifying performance where Ferrari locked out the front row?
I mean, it sets up the rest of this year very good, because what it does is it does not make it predictable. Mercedes are on the back foot. They have to do things different on strategy. And then Red Bull, if we can get them in the equation, it's good. But when Ferrari wind that last bit of power up on the engine, they're just unbeatable at the moment, certainly over one lap. I believe they've taken some downforce off as well. That's where their performance has increased from Friday, so they're making the benefit of that top speed even more, so that makes it even harder for cars to overtake.
Soft tyres for everybody except Antonio Giovinazzi from 11th, Kimi Raikkonen from 13th, and then George Russell, Kevin Magnussen and Robert Kubica the last 3 cars.
And Daniel
Ricciardo as well. He's 16th for him in the Renault. Significant that Giovinazzi's gone on to the medium, the first of the drivers with a free tyre choice. So those at the front are going to have to build a decent gap, at least 21.5, 22 seconds before they can pit and get out ahead of Giovinazzi, who'll go longer.
The undercut is very powerful here. Exactly like Singapore, you're going to get a big benefit because you're running the tyres to the point where they can't hold on. It's like Silverstone. They just can't give you the support needed, and it's such long sectors, long corners where you require a lot of rear support. But if you pull the trigger early and you're out of track position, of course, if you follow somebody that's a couple of seconds off and you follow them through sector 1, you're not going to get by them to the end of the lap.
Yeah.
That impact, that makes it hard, and that's where maybe the guys who've started on the medium just gives them free track time when they want it, and they can make an impact there and equally just pit stop and then conserve a little bit but keep track position.
Here's the Drivers' Championship then, which can't be decided today, but Charles Leclerc needs to outscore Lewis Hamilton by 4 points. Max Verstappen needs to outscore Hamilton by 7 points, and Sebastian Vettel needs to win, and Hamilton failed to score to keep alive their championship hopes. If Mercedes outscore Ferrari by 14 points, they are Constructors' champions for the 6th successive season. Saw Robert Kubica in the garage waiting to come out for his pit lane start. Well done to everyone down at Williams for putting together a brand new chassis to get Robert Kubica in this race after he rather destroyed the old chassis with a crash in qualifying. There's the Constructors' Championship points then. So Mercedes could be Constructors' champions today, and they could also know that one of their 2 drivers will win the Drivers' Championship. It'll be the first time ever in the history of the Formula One World Championship that one constructor has taken 6 successive double World Championships. It's an amazing achievement. But Paul, this time last year, Sebastian Vettel passed Charles Leclerc on track during the Japanese Grand Prix. It was quite an easy overtake, but one was in a Sauber then and one was in a Ferrari. I dare say today might be a bit more difficult if he needs to do that again.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Binotto is handling how these two are going to respect each other, because the trust has clearly gone.
Yeah.
But he said it's a great problem to have, and I agree with him, because it's pushing them to this level. It's making them excel. It's making Vettel have to fight back to get his team behind him again, and you could see the relief in qualifying. He didn't get too excited though, because he knows only half the job is done, but it's up to him. It's all about the reaction. Dump that clutch at the right point, get in the lead, but equally Leclerc needs to be clever if he wants to get on top of Vettel.
It's not exactly Prost and Senna yet between Vettel and Leclerc, but you can't help thinking about that as they head into this first corner.
They're not into the championship battle. Of course, the people who are probably going to be more aggressive, actually, when you think about it, is Bottas and Hamilton.
Yeah.
Bottas needs to stay in front. If Hamilton gets in front, we know he's much better over a race distance. He can nail it. Whereas Bottas is a guy second in the championship, and of course can keep that going longer and longer and longer.
So the 5th time that we've had qualifying and the race on the same day in Formula One, and for the 5th time on that same day, a German driver starts on pole position. Sebastian Vettel with 5 poles here at Suzuka, the most of any track that he's raced on during his career. And he'll lead them off when the lights go out in a few moments' time. Robert Kubica's making his way down the pit lane as a rather enthusiastic marshal waves the flag behind the cars. 5 lights on. It's lights out and away we go. Vettel didn't get a very good start at all. He's already been passed by Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton on Charles Leclerc. Vettel in 2nd place, and through on the outside goes Max Verstappen now. Charles Leclerc's on the inside. Verstappen's challenging, and they touched. Verstappen spins round as he tangles with Charles Leclerc. Bottas leads from Vettel and Leclerc and Hamilton, and then the 2 McLarens.
Vettel actually moved before the lights went out and stopped again. He may get picked up for a jump start. He was stationary again, but that's what set it all off. That's what hurt them.
And Charles Leclerc's got wing damage as well. This is a horrendous start for Ferrari just hours after they celebrated a front row lockout. It's all going wrong for the Scooter rear. Bottas leads from Vettel, Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, Norris, Albon, Gasly, Stroll and Hülkenberg. Sergio Perez in 11th as to the hairpin we go. And Lewis Hamilton under a little bit of pressure there from the car behind him, which is Carlos Sainz. Another good start from Carlos Sainz. Alex Albon dropping down into 7th as we see that wing damage for Leclerc.
Oh, got damage.
Copy.
He tangled with Max Verstappen, who was trying to make his way round the outside through the S's, and 2 cars do not go into one at this particular corner.
He's just lost the downforce. He was too close to Vettel as Vettel came across in front of him. But that's going to hurt him.
Hamilton and Sainz might have tangled there and come together as well. I don't know if there's any damage on the side of Hamilton's car, but there was definitely contact there as they made their way behind the spinning Max Verstappen, and Leclerc with damage, and Leclerc's carrying on. Why has he not come into the pits?
That's dangerous with that wing. It's loose, isn't it? Look at the spars. Hamilton staying well out of the way wisely as well. But a great start for both McLarens. P5, P6, and they're going to find themselves even further up very soon, because Leclerc's going to have to come in and change that. I'm sure he's going to get the black flag with the orange disc, which means you can come in, repair the car and carry on if Ferrari don't pull him in.
I am very surprised indeed that Charles Leclerc hasn't come into the pits as yet. Karun Chan looks at race control.
Yeah, two things, Crofty. One, Sebastian Vettel did move before the lights. Paul's eyes very good up here. The other thing is, the team called Leclerc in. They said box, box. He said why, and in that conversation, he missed the pit entry.
Oh, if the team are telling you, Paul, as a driver, sometimes you just got to trust him.
Yeah, you have. He's going to come in, I guess, at the end of the lap because you won't go against it, but he's not struggling. What's that?
Why don't we continue a little bit more?
Well, the obvious answer to that, Paul, is how dangerous is that front wing, and will that part fall off if he carries on the way he is?
There's bits of carbon all over the track, Crofty. Incident at turn 2 is going to be investigated. Leclerc.
No investigation necessary.
We need to box this lap box.
It's carbon everywhere.
Copy, boss, but just to let you know, the car doesn't feel that bad. I know it probably looks bad, but the car's quite okay.
He can't see the damage that is now flying off from that wing as Charles Leclerc stays out for another lap. Bottas leads from Vettel, Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, Norris, Albon, Gasly, Stroll and Hulkenberg. Great start from Hulkenberg, by the way, moving up from 15th on the grid, now running 10th.
That's really risky is what he's doing, because I'm sure the FIA are telling Ferrari he must stop. But he's kind of ignoring what they're saying.
I wonder, Paul, because it's not sparking anymore and the bit that has fallen off, is that why they've left him out?
Possibly. But the issue was the amount of carbon on the back straight and heading up to 130R, cars getting punctures. That's why they tell you to stop.
Karun at race control.
Surprisingly, Lewis Hamilton has been on the radio complaining about wing damage coming into his face. He's going, how has he not been given a warning flag? I don't know. So Hamilton, unexpectedly on the radio ranting.
I'm not surprised at all. And there you are, confirmation, no investigation necessary. Leclerc and Verstappen.
How he's not been given a warning flag, I don't know.
I think it's actually clear now, Crofty. I think the end plate's fallen off, and his first sector actually is quicker than the race leader. He's just done the quickest first sector of anybody.
So Valtteri Bottas, as it was in Russia in 2017, when he won his maiden Grand Prix victory, starts third, finds himself leading now, and that is, well, that's why the front wing end plate has stopped sparking, Paul, because it's not making any contact with the ground apart from where it's bouncing off the tarmac.
Yeah, came off, lost the wing mirror.
Yeah, it did take the wing mirror.
I wonder if the stewards will look at that. They can't bring him in now.
He's in.
Oh, he is? He is in. He is coming in to the pit lane then, as we can see Mattia Binotto, and Ted, you can see Charles Leclerc coming down the pit straight.
Yeah, I mean, the integrity of the front wing is fine, apart from the fact it doesn't have that, but that is dangerous. Not only could it have hit Lewis Hamilton's head, but it could have bounced into the crowd as well. Obvious why Leclerc was doing it. It was a strategic game. He knows that it's likely that he's on a two-stop strategy, and now, having to pit now, and losing the time, it's all very steady, isn't it? Come on, Charles, get on with it. It's all very steady. That's really, really ruining his race. Whereas if he could wait until lap 10 or 12, that he could have coincided with the first of his two stops, and that wouldn't have been too bad.
Thanks ever so much, Ted. Just looking there's a yellow flag in sector 12. That's on the way down towards Spoon. I wonder if that was for a bit of debris that the marshals might have had to have retrieved.
Race control have said there's no investigation ongoing for that incident.
What? Where should I go? He's just gonna sit into my car.
Hard racing. Since Canada, the stewards maybe let a few more things go by. The drivers know that they can race hard, and we'll see the race start again. Max Verstappen not overly happy. So Sebastian Vettel, and no confirmation yet that he jumped the start, but he definitely got away very poorly indeed when the lights did go out. Bottas passing him.
He definitely moved, Crofty, and he stopped, and maybe because he was stationary again and he wasn't further in the box. There, it's there. You saw it.
Yeah. And Valtteri Bottas saw it and reacted very quickly.
That's why he got the jump. I wonder if that's what threw Leclerc as well, because Leclerc never got a good start. So I wonder, because you could always see it in the corner of your eye, and that kind of...
This is Max Verstappen's start. and he suddenly finds himself, Leclerc's not getting away very quickly, he finds himself going wheel to wheel with Leclerc through turn 1, and now it all slows down and tightens up, and Leclerc does move across him.
There's nothing Max could do there. Max left him space.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, Verstappen was going around the outside, and it's Leclerc that moves across to take the normal line pull, which of course isn't there because he's got a car on his left-hand side.
Yeah, he just loses the downforce. He just can't get the front grip. You can see Leclerc knows he's up against it. He knows Max has got track position. Max hasn't got any downforce loss. And again, Carlos Sainz very well managed and getting his way through there, and Hamilton having to muscle his way through as well.
Now, did Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton touch? I think, yes, they did. And did something fall off Hamilton's car?
There's the move.
Wonder.
There's the move.
There's the move. Lando Norris is into the pits, by the way, as we saw Sebastian Vettel moving, stopping, and then moving again. Max Verstappen has got his way up to 16th. We haven't mentioned him other than to look at the crash. But that being sent spinning around by Charles Leclerc has cost Verstappen an inordinate amount of points, and eventually, oh dear, I'm going to say Alex Albon getting past Lando Norris, but that's what happened at the chicane.
He forced me off.
Well, he's making a move down the inside, Paul. How do you see that one?
You would need to see it from the other angle again. Whoa, he's not stopping, is he? I mean, you've got to leave a bit more space than that, Alex. You know, Lando's entitled to a bit of space coming from that far behind.
So, Ted, Lando Norris came into the pits.
And he's now dropping down. He's dropping down the order. I think he's out. I think he's going to be out of this race. He came into the pits, Crofty, and his front right brake was on fire. They had to change his tyre, but there was flames coming out of the front right. Are we watching him retire now?
No, we're watching him coming down the pit straight now and carrying on.
Last, absolutely last now. And there must be more problems. Maybe that is a brake issue. I mean, if it comes into the pits and it's on fire, that's certainly an issue. But, well, let's see if he can continue.
And the stewards have noted that incident between Alex Albon and Lando Norris.
My car is massively moving under braking.
Copy.
So let's bring in Christian Horner to talk about both of his two drivers. We'll start with Max Verstappen. Real problems there, Christian, through no fault of his own.
No, really unlucky for Max. I mean, I don't think that was his fault at all. He got a good start, went around the outside. Yeah, was desperately unlucky to pick up that damage, which is now quite aerodynamically significant. He's got quite a lot of floor damage that you know, obviously takes a lot of downforce off the car.
And then Alex Albon on the move on Lando Norris. How did you see that?
I thought that was good hard racing. I mean, obviously he's now closing up on Carlos. You know, it was, in my view, it was his corner. He went for the inside. He was fully up the inside. The contact was front left, you know, of Alex. So, yeah, you know, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Important that you get past the McLarens, as we see your former driver Daniel Ricciardo getting past Antonio Giovinazzi into turn 1, moving up into 10th place. You've got to clear those two McLarens because they could really hold you up in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important we get past Carlos sooner rather than later, and then try and get into the cars ahead, because I think Alex has got pretty reasonable pace there. We know we've got a reasonable race car.
Christian, have you guys noted that Vettel actually moved before the lights went out and stopped again? Has anything been talked about on that?
Yes, we noted that. I'm sure. I think Mercedes are all over that.
But so far, nothing official from the FIA. Christian, thank you very much indeed. And the stewards are now saying that lap 1, turn 2 incident between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen now under investigation for causing a collision. So it was no investigation necessary. Have they changed their minds?
It looks like they have, and I don't think, to be honest, I don't think Leclerc's got any way of winning that battle. You know, he clearly drove into Max. Max was leaving him the space. Max had the nice clean air, the downforce, and Leclerc was trying to get back at something that probably was untouchable.
Well, we'll keep you up to date with news from the stewards' room. Out in front, Valtteri Bottas has a 2.5 second lead over Sebastian Vettel. Lewis Hamilton runs third from Carlos Sainz, and Alex Albon are the top 5. Charles Leclerc is down in 17th place at the moment. Karun Chandhok, I don't know if you're monitoring his team radio at race control, but I don't think he's overly happy with his car.
No, he's not, but I've also been watching what happened with Lando Norris, Crofty. That smoke was because he had that incident this last chicane, came in with hot brakes. The mechanic had a quick wipe of the brake duct, and they did think it was okay, gave it a thumbs up and sent him back out.
Thank you very much indeed. Danny Kvyat, we can see down in 15th place at the moment. Kimi Raikkonen ahead of him, and Kvyat now getting all the disturbance from the Alfa Romeo's rear wing as they make their way through the S's. Very strong tailwind blowing in to the driver's visors through that S's section, and also a tailwind as we ride on board with Charles Leclerc down that back straight. And that goes the front, or the right, I should say.
It was a wing mirror.
Wing mirror.
There.
Yeah, well, the whole thing fell, not just the glass, but the whole thing has gone. So his vision is impaired.
Wonder if he's flat spotted the tyre and a bit of vibration. Could have hurt. Disaster for Ferrari, though. An absolute disaster.
In a sporting context, a horrendous start for Ferrari there. But that's twice then down that straight, Paul. We've seen things flying off Charles Leclerc's car. The FIA didn't put out the black and orange flag. Ferrari tried to call Charles Leclerc in, and he decided to stay out because the car felt good. He's, well, shall we just say, if that car is performing aerodynamically very well, why do they put any updates on it? Because there's none left.
Plan A, totals 4.9.
Plan A, I assume, is still a one-stop strategy, but they need to keep him within undercut range.
Yeah, of course, but what Mercedes have got now is they've sandwiched the Ferrari so they can do whatever they want. They can let one car run.
Oh, no, here's Charles Leclerc on Max Verstappen into turn one. Charles Leclerc getting past Max Verstappen. This time, no contact.
No, that Ferrari's absolutely superior, isn't it? It's got the straight line speed. And obviously Leclerc's been in and got a medium set of tyres, a new front wing. So he's going to carve his way through this field, but I would expect he's going to get a penalty for that first corner incident.
It's got straight line speed, Paul, because it's had a drag reduced by bits flying off the car. I think we can see it here again as confirmation that Sebastian Vettel is under investigation for a false start. That's how his teammate got past Max Verstappen at the second time of asking, and this time no contact there. Sergio Perez is running in 9th place behind Nico Hülkenberg. The two Renaults, after a really disappointing qualifying, running 8th and 10th at the moment. They've had an excellent start, both Hülkenberg and Ricciardo.
And on the medium tyre?
On the medium tyre to go that much longer into the race.
That is. It's Danny Rick.
Yeah. Hülkenberg on the soft tyre to help his start.
So where does this leave us now? If Vettel gets a penalty and then promotes Hamilton, and then Carlos Sainz, could he sneak a podium in?
Absolutely. I'm just thinking, what penalty did Kimi Raikkonen get for a false start? It was a 5-second penalty or drive-through? I think it was a drive-through penalty. It
depends if he set the sensor off, though. If he stopped in time, sometimes because you become stationary again, you might get away with it. It's all to do with the position of when you launch, isn't it?
Here comes Danny Kvyat looking for a way past Kimi Raikkonen. Behind him, Charles Leclerc is looking for a way past Danny Kvyat. Started second, down in 16th at the moment. Charles Leclerc getting held up through the S's. Lacking downforce through the S's. His tyres might be sliding around somewhat. Been in for a pit stop. And Charles Leclerc on the medium compound tyre now.
Our tyres are getting massively flat spotted. I can't brake. I'm pulling left and right.
Okay, copy.
And Max Verstappen really struggling with his tyres at the moment after damage from the contact with Charles Leclerc. Meanwhile, Verstappen's teammate Alex Albon, we watch Leclerc trying to find a way up the inside at the hairpin. Alex Albon is gaining on Carlos Sainz.
Vettel has a response for everything that Bottas can do as well, so that Ferrari's looking good, and it's looking very racy behind cars as well. I mean, Leclerc's picking his way through them easy. I suspect here he's going to get a nice slipstream up to the 130R and set him up nicely probably to DRS on the main straight. Well,
let's have a look then, riding on board with Charles Leclerc as we do, getting up to a top speed of about 200 miles an hour down that back straight as they cross over the track through 130R. No chance for a move for Charles Leclerc on that particular occasion, but he will get DRS, of course. The trouble for him is that Danny Kvyat gets DRS because Kimi Räikkönen is that much closer to the Toro Rosso as well. But down the main straight we go. You can see Kevin Magnussen in 12th place, his teammate Romain Grosjean behind him. Then Räikkönen, who didn't have DRS because he was too far away from Grosjean, Kvyat, who did, and Leclerc, who did. And they all keep lying astern and in the same place. Karun, I think we can head down to you at race control.
Yeah, just want to point out what a great job Carlos Sainz is doing, guys. You know, Alex Albon, we know the Red Bull is a quicker car, but he's 6 seconds ahead of Pierre Gasly, the best of the rest, in that midfield battle. And on the last few laps, matching Albon for pace. Really strong race once again from Carlos Sainz.
On board still with Charles Leclerc through the first of the two technical corners, and we can head down the 10.
A little update about Mercedes, still clearly the two quickest cars on track. Hamilton just trading quickest times with Bottas. Bottas quickest last time round, Hamilton was quickest the time before, guys. They'll know, of course, the drivers will know that Vettel is under investigation for that jump start. Ferrari will be arguing that Vettel didn't gain an advantage and actually lost that advantage.
Ted, I'm going to break in. Charles Leclerc's going for it into Spoon, later on the brakes than Danny Kvyat. Nice move, Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, he set him up nicely. He went wide round the hairpin, so he had the downforce, and then you could see it was clipping because the light was blinking. It means Danny Kvyat was charging, and you can see it again. The Honda really having to do a lot more charge than what the Ferrari's doing. So obviously the attack mode of the Ferrari much more efficient.
And whilst we watch that, Kevin Magnussen's passed his teammate Romain Grosjean and up into 12th as well. All set up out of the hairpin. Nice move though by Charles Leclerc. Ted, back down to you.
Yeah, so Mercedes just holding it together now, waiting to see what happens with Vettel with the penalty. If they can make it another 9 or 10 laps, that's perfect for their one-stop strategy. What have we got here, Colin?
We are on board with Kimi Räikkönen. The car behind him is Charles Leclerc. Now this time last year, Charles Leclerc was in the Sauber that's now the Alfa, and Kimi Räikkönen was in the Ferrari, but now he's in the Alfa. And, well, we saw a bit of cooperation now, Sauber letting the Ferrari past. You're Kimi Räikkönen, you're 40 next week, Paul. You kind of like to show these young pups that you've still got it. He's not going to let that Ferrari past, is he?
I wouldn't think he'd make it that easy. Bottas, left front, just catching it. Fortunately, getting out the brake pedal, though, it's not damaged it too much, but you can see that tyre starting to look a bit nasty, and that's the soft, obviously.
Good morning to you if you're just joining us here in Suzuka. What a 12 laps it's been at the start of this Japanese Grand Prix so far. From third on the grid, Valtteri Bottas leads. Sebastian Vettel, under investigation for a false start, is now running second.
Keep it coming. This is good stuff.
Lewis Hamilton started fourth, is running third. Carlos Sainz, whose best finish in Formula One, is fourth. Once before in Singapore, is running fourth at the moment with Alex Albon in fifth for Red Bull. Charles Leclerc is currently running 15th after tangling with Max Verstappen and getting a lot of damage, forcing him to pit early on. Verstappen is running 17th and still complaining of big damage on his car that's not exactly helping his progress. And Kimi Räikkönen now fending off Charles Leclerc as best he can through the chicane. I wonder what can Räikkönen do down the straight to keep Leclerc behind him. Up ahead, the car is Romain Grosjean, and that's giving Räikkönen a bit of DRS assistance to keep that Ferrari at bay. Is Räikkönen going to have a go at Grosjean? No, he's not. Leclerc's too far away to get past Kimi.
The thing about this bunch of cars, Crofty, it's all Ferrari powered, the Haas, the Alfa Romeo, and then of course Leclerc behind it. There's only so much you can use, and with the straight line speed that Ferrari's got, they've all got the benefit of that, so that's why they're all kind of stuck behind each other. Leclerc needs to be putting more impact at this point of the race, because of course this is when his tyres are fresh, and what he's going to find is as he gets later into the race he'll struggle more.
Sebastian Vettel 4.5 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. The gap though between Vettel and Hamilton was 2.5 seconds 6 laps ago. It's now down to 1.7 seconds. So Hamilton is coming at Sebastian Vettel.
This is the second stage of deg that James Allison was saying. The Ferrari eat their tyres quicker than what Mercedes can.
And good news if you are a Sebastian Vettel fan and you're rooting for him this afternoon or this morning, wherever you're watching, no further action after he was investigated for an alleged false start.
That has to be because he never let the sensor mustn't have reacted because he stopped again. So that was because he's probably not been on the line. When he's moved, he's not went far enough to set it off.
So he started behind
Still started behind the line, and he must have been stationary when the lights went out.
Here comes Charles Leclerc towards 130R, and he's got past Kimi Räikkönen. Wow! We've seen people go around the outside at 130R. Is the inside this time for Charles Leclerc, who is pulling off some brilliant overtakes here at Suzuka on this sunny Sunday afternoon. You smiling at that one, Paul
It's
di Resta.
nice to see a car carving through the field. Nice to see some overtaking. Of course, the Ferrari is the strongest package at the moment. And you can see, I don't think he'll have too much trouble with the Haas. The Haas are struggling. Sebastian Vettel still 6, 7 tenths slower than what Bottas is doing in front. So it's kind of going to be a game. Can they survive and can he finish on that middle step of the podium? Because I think Bottas and his Mercedes is out of reach.
So Leclerc with moves on Danny Kvyat into Spoon as we watch our 4 stewards. Tom Christensen, the King of Le Mans, the driver steward for this particular weekend. Leclerc's got past Kvyat, going to Spoon. He's got past Raikkonen on the inside at 130R. There, stop. He did stop and didn't look, Paul, that he'd gone over the line.
The drivers have the reference of the yellow line on the right-hand side of them when they pull up to the grid, and that leaves a little bit of margin.
And the stewards...
I tell you, if Hamilton, if the Ferrari and the Red Bull hadn't... in fact, Leclerc's got by one Haas already.
He has. He's got past Charles Leclerc, Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, had Leclerc and Verstappen not collided with each other, Hamilton would have been down in P5.
Absolutely.
That would have been a disaster for him.
Corinne Chandok, down to you.
Yeah, Mercedes have been on the radio to Lewis Hamilton. They think Vettel's going to be pitting soon, and so they've told him to just come onto the back of that Ferrari. There's a chance he could come in as well to undercut, so it's all about to kick off, guys, in terms of the first pit stop.
And so it's Mercedes 1 and 3 at the moment, Ferrari are 2, and with Charles Leclerc 13th. Now, a quick bit of maths to work out how this affects the Constructors' Championship. If Mercedes finish 1st and 3rd, I think Ferrari have got to get Charles Leclerc up into 6th place and with the fastest lap as well to keep alive the Constructors' Championship. And is that Max Verstappen retiring from this race? Ted, I think it is.
It is. They cleared a space for him in the Red Bull garage. He was P17 only, wasn't he, with no chance of getting back in through strategy. The car was pretty badly affected by the flat spot on those tyres. What a shocking end, with such high hopes with this new fuel and this new engine, the Suzuka Special, the Honda engine at the Honda-owned Suzuka circuit. How gutting for him to retire.
Well, it is. But this is the new hard racing in Formula One, where you're going to get incidents like this and the stewards aren't going to take action, Paul di Resta, and this is the consequences of it. And you can see there how close Lewis Hamilton is getting to Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, you can see he's got DRS assistance, but of course Red Bull, what they'll do is they don't want to sacrifice next time out, because that's a track they've dominated the past 2 years, even with a car that's not as quick as it is compared to its current competitors at the moment. So they've got 2 minds on it, but that's a shame, because I think Max was powerless there. I think he was doing exactly what he needed to do, and on you go. Is that Alex Albon in the pits?
Yeah, it's all happening in the Red Bull pit boxes at the moment. Max Verstappen's retired. Alex Albon has come in. Is this a bid to try and undercut Carlos Sainz?
Yeah, but McLaren can't react to that. McLaren have just got to wait. That's a package that's quicker, and I think they've just got to settle for the gap and hope that he'll finish P5 at the end of the Grand Prix.
So, out in front. What a day this is now turning into for Valtteri Bottas. 7 seconds clear of Sebastian Vettel.
Just shows you where you qualify. It makes a difference around here, doesn't it? Just keeps you out the trouble at the start, gives you the free air, and on you go.
So Max Verstappen is out, and we do have a retirement from the race here at Suzuka. Don't get many retirements here. 7 races in the history of the F1 World Championship where every starter's finished. 2 of them have been at Suzuka. And for Max Verstappen, 2 retirements this year. They've both been as a consequence of first lap collisions. Spa, of course, when he went on at Raidillon and here in Japan.
Got some new graphics on the right-hand side of your screen.
Liking those.
And box, Sebastian, box.
Right, so Lewis Hamilton stays out. And you've got to hope Sebastian Vettel got that speed down to 80 kilometers an hour. He really did slam on the brakes.
Yeah, it's not efficient braking there when you're locked up as well, because you can't control how much you're going to undercut it slightly.
Ted, you're outside the garage.
Yep, just looking down to the pit lane from it, and it's another red soft tyre. That's the new set of tyres that they kept. So that's a square-on, nailed-down 2-stopper. You have to use both sets of, or 2 different compounds of tyres in races. And if you go from red to red, you're going to have to use yellow later on. Kimi Raikkonen's gone for the hard tyre, guys, which nobody thought was going to be appearing in the race today, but that can go to the end. So, yeah, it's a 2-stop.
Ted?
Oh, pushing radio.
And Mercedes are going to react straight away with Valtteri Bottas. Vettel is on the soft tyre. Bottas will have to change, you would imagine, to the medium tyre because they haven't got a new set of softs to react with.
So I guess what they'll want to do is probably cover Vettel with this stop, and then with Hamilton they might just let him do a one stop.
So that's Sebastian Vettel coming into the pits.
Sounded like he was okay there, Crofty.
Christian Horner, big disappointment. Max Verstappen out of this race. No point continuing or no chance he'd finish?
To be honest with you, there was so much damage on the car. We were concerned it might actually degrade further. So, yeah, just massively unlucky for Max, and yeah, disappointing at this race to lose him so early on for no real fault of his own.
Yeah, he's I think just behind you on the pit wall there. I'd ask you to ask him about Charles Leclerc, but I don't think we could repeat the answer on a family programme. Do give him our sympathies and wish him best for the next race. In comes, and thank you, Christian, in comes the race leader, Valtteri Bottas, and it is the medium compound tyre that goes on, and as you can see, making his way round the final corner. In the background, Sebastian Vettel, who has come out, Paul di Resta, behind Carlos Sainz.
He has, but he should be easy picking given the age of Carlos's tyre and versus Vettel. But it's interesting why Ferrari have done that. I know they've eaten their tyres a bit quicker, but can they genuinely pass the Mercedes at the end of the Grand Prix?
Wow.
Is that possible?
I don't know. Karun, you're looking at strategy at race control.
Well, I've been listening to Bottas's radio.
Here's some more.
So you need to push. You're on 2 stop, Lewis on 1 stop to pass him on track.
Yep, this is exactly what I was about to say. So, Valtteri's been released into a nice, clean bit of track there. 11 seconds behind Hamilton, and he has got to get a push on because he's got a pull, Crofty, about 24 seconds, we think.
Right. About 23, 22 and a half.
Well, they've just said he's going to have to overtake Lewis on the track if he wants to beat him.
But Lewis on a 2-stop. Sorry, Karun. As Sebastian Vettel gets past Carlos Sainz, and that's key for his progress.
Yeah, it absolutely is. If Bottas can get right up behind Hamilton, then they're hoping that, you know, with the way the strategy will unfold, it might work out for him later on with a fresh set of tyres.
Wow. Let's see. Strategy's been kind of made up, not exactly on the hoof, but with a little less preparation time than you would normally get because qualifying was this morning.
But if Vettel can then get closer to Bottas, pull that gap in on the soft, they can pull the trigger earlier as well because they can get on the harder compound, which is the medium tyre, whereas Mercedes are probably going to have to go back to the soft. So they can't be quite as risky at the end of the Grand Prix. So it's maybe not Bottas that's Hamilton's worry, maybe it's Vettel.
And Giovinazzi being passed by Charles Leclerc. With DRS, one of the easier overtakes that Charles Leclerc has pulled off during this race so far. Probably giving us a foretaste here of what a sprint race might look like next season if we have some qualifying sprint races with a reverse championship order, as into the pits and out again goes Pierre Gasly, and behind him Lance Stroll as well. And the stewards have decided that they're going to look at the incident involving Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen after the race. So I assume then they want to talk to both drivers.
Yeah, I think the 2-stop's going to be quicker here for Bottas looking at it. He's just taken a second out of Hamilton and he's only 9.9 seconds behind them, so he's already 10 seconds behind. Turns 1 and 2 will be investigated after the race between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen.
Yeah, so that was Pierre Gasly making his stop. Just having a little look at that again.
Another second in the middle sector nearly for Bottas.
Just looking as he made his exit there wasn't much distance, was there, between the Alpha crew and Pierre Gasly coming back out again.
So Vettel's already put a dent into that gap behind Hamilton. So Hamilton needs to continue on this 1-stop if he's got any tyres left.
So Hamilton then, at the moment, about 7 seconds, 6.8 seconds clear of Valtteri Bottas. Sebastian Vettel is running third.
3 seconds a lap Hamilton's off Bottas, and crucially Bottas a second quicker than Vettel on the medium tyre versus the soft.
Look at these graphics, they're brilliant. You can see the condition of Hamilton's tyres there, and down to 20% on the right-hand side of the car, which is getting more punishment.
Yeah, and of course when you lose the gauge in the tyre, you lose the temperature, and that's when you lose the grip. You've not got that nice flat surface, the carcass temps, you can't control them. And Hamilton was sitting behind a lot of people. So here's Alex Albon on a racing point. Honda's pulling up the hill well, isn't it?
Certainly is. On the drag, the long drag towards 130R, and he's clear of that racing point as he manages to get past. Alex Albon running in 6th place as it stands at the moment. I love that new graphic with the tyre information. When we hear drivers complaining about the state of their tyres, now we can actually see just how bad a condition they're in.
So there's going to be a bit of between Hamilton and Bottas, because of course Hamilton's going to get a nice fresh set of tyres at some point and try and put that gap back into Bottas, but then Bottas will be closing at the end of the Grand Prix on different tyres. There's going to be a bit of overtaking going on
a track that overtaking isn't exactly easy on as well. But when you get the mixture of strategies, this is what you get. So much better than just a nice straightforward one-stop strategy. We want to see a mix-up, don't we? So the average time lost, 22 seconds for pit stops at the moment. There's 4 seconds between Hamilton and Bottas. Another 2.5 seconds Bottas has taken out. We're on board with Alex Albon. Is this another move going on here? Daniel Ricciardo is the car that's just ahead of him. No chance of getting past into the chicane.
So Lewis will be out of the way soon.
So that means that Lewis is going to be stopping for a pit stop.
Here comes Albon on Daniel Ricciardo, and much fresher tyres for Daniel Ricciardo. That was nice and easy. Sorry, for Alex Albon, nice and easy for the Red Bull driver who's carrying Honda's hopes with him at the moment.
I've been watching Carlos Sainz. He's been doing low 36s for about the last 12 laps. Very consistent, so he didn't show the true pace right at the beginning, but he's clearly went on that long run, and all he wants to do is gain track position, and he's a nice comfortable part of the track actually. He's out in the middle of nowhere, he's not got any back markers to hold him up, and he's just charging away lap after lap after lap. He's
doing what Lando Norris has done on a few races this season. He's going along racing the clock rather than racing anybody else. Right, let's head down to Ted Kravitz.
Fronts are dead.
Ted.
Fronts are dead.
Okay, copy. Box.
20%, Ted, on 3 of his 4 tyres.
I was just going to say, I can see the Mercedes mechanics in the pit lane. I wonder if we're going to see Lewis Hamilton in the pits. And here he comes in the pit lane, right down in front of me. Paul, you talk about Sainz's strategy. It is quite good. I mean, when he does pit, he's going to be behind Alex Albon. The Red Bull just seems to be a bit faster, but in kind of nowhere's land after that, isn't he? So let's have a look at the Mercedes strategy. This is bang on for a one-stop. A little slow on the left rear there, but not too bad, and he should rejoin safely behind Bottas. So
well, he rejoined.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say not just that, Ted, but what you couldn't see is he rejoined safely ahead of Carlos Sainz as well.
And Charles Leclerc, I think, is going to overtake Sainz when Sainz come in the pits, but of course I'm not sure Leclerc will get to the end of the Grand Prix on that set of tyres.
Exactly, he'd have to stop again, and it's an open question as to whether Albon can stay out or whether he would have to stop again later as well.
The incident between Norris and Albon, no further action, so that's when we saw Albon up the inside, didn't leave Norris much room and boshed him out of the way.
I think that just goes with the current guidance from the stewards, Paul.
They're allowing them hard, firm racing, and there's a small gap there, you can stick it up the inside. So they're leaving as much responsibility to the guy who's being overtaken to the guy that's doing the overtaking.
And they're being consistent with it as well, which is all you can ever ask for when it comes to judgments and adjudications.
So the reality is now you need to be a bit firmer in your blocking and not leave that space for somebody to dive up in there.
As long as you don't get penalised for not leaving a car's width.
I think the one we're interested in is the first corner, and I think Leclerc, unfortunately, probably where they're going to base it on is Verstappen's going to not finish the race, so Leclerc is, and then they're going to imply a penalty that we don't know.
Yeah, the thing is Leclerc moves across Verstappen in that one, because that's the way he was going anyway.
Leclerc is at fault by hitting Verstappen.
Exactly. Karun, to you.
Yeah, bad news for Lewis Hamilton, guys. They've told him they don't think one stop could be an easy race. They think it's marginal. He might have to pit again. He's not been very happy on the radio. He's saying, how am I so far behind? And that's because, Lewis, he stayed out for those extra laps. So, yeah, bad news for him. He could have to come in again.
So is it definitely a 2-stop for Valtteri Bottas then, Paul? If it's going to be hard for Lewis Hamilton, could Valtteri Bottas make a one-stop work?
No. He's taken too much life out of him. I don't think you could take the risk of the impact early on the stint. The first 5-6 laps when they're getting up to temperature, that's when you damage them. If you bring them in gently, you might get through, and that's what Hamilton's going to do. He's not going to be able to put the charge on, and you can see Vettel, he's still doing green sectors. Hamilton equally, he's pushing, but Bottas 11 seconds in the lead. He's taken a good step, and those early laps, and obviously with a higher fuel, will put more load through it.
Yeah. The way he's driving, Valtteri Bottas, just carry on at this rate, and he will be untouchable for the next 30 laps.
He's been untouchable all weekend in that Mercedes, to be honest. He's just been a little step in front, so clearly the upgrade has brought the car more to his liking.
On a track, Valtteri Bottas in the past, where he finished as a runner-up last year, but as a best result.
So you're currently P3, Vettel 10 seconds ahead. Deg looks very high, so one stop will be a struggle. Let's chase Vettel down.
And Valtteri, how far?
Valtteri's nearly got a full pit stop.
How have I lost that much time?
Deg is much higher. Deg is much higher, and we lost time behind Vettel.
I'm out of the race now. Deg is that massive. Why didn't you get me hard tyres? Can you guys explain a bit, please? I'm basically out of the race with a pit stop behind.
So Vettel is guaranteed 2 stop, so we can see how this comes to us.
And I'm assuming he didn't get the hard tyres, Paul, because they might be on a similar Deg pattern, but their pace is that much slower than the medium tyre.
Yeah, it probably is. I'm surprised he didn't go hard actually and just gain the track position on Vettel, because they are going to get that. Vettel's going to have to overtake Hamilton. There's that wing mirror, it's gone. So we've got Hamilton missing our right wing mirror, Leclerc missing the left.
That could be interesting if those two come close together. Lando Norris is under pressure here, moves over to the right-hand side of the track. Pierre Gasly thinks, that's all right, I'll go around the left-hand side instead. And Pierre Gasly will get a big round of applause from the local fans here as he moves himself up into 9th place in this race. Both drivers have pitted. Don't forget Lando Norris lost a chunk of time and a chunk of carbon fibre as well when he made contact with Alex Albon at the chicane.
So you've got to say at this point in the Grand Prix though, Carlos Sainz has done 24 laps plus his qualifying on that set of soft tyres. He's easily going to make it on a set of mediums, isn't he, where he's got to. So Hamilton's only stopped a couple of laps before, so you've got to think he should get to the end. It depends how much pressure he puts on them though in those early phases, and he is the quickest man out there. 32.8 Hamilton last time round versus a 33.3 for Bottas and Vettel.
We saw him get to within a second of Sebastian Vettel. Our F1 Insights powered by AWS telling us that in 13 laps time Lewis Hamilton might just be in a position to strike again at Sebastian Vettel, assuming Vettel hasn't pitted again by that stage as well. We're only on lap 25 of 53.
The benefit Vettel's got, we know that medium tyre is working well on the cars. He's going to have a nice fresh set of them at the end of the Grand Prix. He's going to be able to push on a little bit harder than the likes of the Mercedes guys, because they've used that medium in the middle part.
So this is Norris, Stroll and Hulkenberg who have all pitted. And a little lock up there by Lance Stroll as he gets very close to Lando Norris going towards the chicane. Norris is going to have to watch his mirrors here, I think.
Why did you put me on the medium?
Because the hard is an unknown. Hard doesn't look good on other cars, so you've got better chances on this tyre.
And watching his mirrors, Lando Norris would have seen Lance Stroll coming, and Stroll puts himself now up into 10th place.
This is a discussion the team don't want to be having, Lewis, across the radio, because it's broadcast to the rest of the world, so they're not going to tell him too much. He needs to get his head down and carry on. Lando Norris stays turning from bad to worse. He's just slowly but surely selecting reverse. Unfortunately, he might have picked up damage when Albon hit him, and that's compromised that. Danny Rick actually, P6, so starting on that medium tyre, you can see that's got plenty of life in it.
Well, it has. He is one of the few that hasn't pitted yet. Carlos Sainz is another, and also Danny Kvyat. George Russell right at the rear of the field. Russell running the medium compound tyre. Some around him have switched to the hards. Ted, down to you.
Sorry about the tyre chat, Crofty. You know I don't like it, but the problem with the hard tyre pre-race, no one fancied it. None of the stretchers were thinking, oh, I'll have a go at the hard tyre, because yes, it might have lasted 10 or so laps later, but it just was so slow, and it was took a long time to warm up as well. But I don't know where Mercedes are looking at the... Sorry, if there's a move
well,
here.
Sergio Perez was thinking of a move on Lando Norris and now just tucks back behind the rear wing of that McLaren going into 130R. Might be a bit later on the brakes than Lando, but a little too far back to get past the McLaren. Lap 26, 2 racing points. A Renault and a McLaren went into the lap together, and at the end of it, the McLaren pits the new tyres.
Leclerc's pitting now, Crofty. I don't know if you're
on
still...
the soft compound tyre he is now.
That's right, so that's not going to get him to the end from here, you would have thought. And so it's Sainz now as well. It's Lando Norris coming in actually for his second stop, and that is the hard tyre. So I was just going to say, there's not much evidence from the cars, from Mercedes, to look at for Hamilton. It's Grosjean, it's Giovinazzi, it's Raikkonen, it's Magnussen. They're the only guys really running the hard tyre. It's difficult for them to get a read on whether it's any good or not.
Paul Di Resta, explain please, Charles Leclerc pitting for another set of softs.
Well, Ferrari used their hard run 1 in Q1 when the red flag came out, so it's not new. And what they did is they saved a new set of softs from qualifying compared to Mercedes. So that tyre will easily make it, given where Carlos Sainz has got to in the race with heavy fuel as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Hulkenberg on the inside going through a spoon curve. We saw that move on Lando Norris a while back, and now Hulkenberg's got Danny Kvyat in his sights. Everywhere you look, there's overtaking here at Suzuka this afternoon. And now on the run down towards Spoon, 2 cars going wheel to wheel, and the Toro Rosso stays ahead, but for how much longer?
Yeah, I think Ferrari have used their best weapon they can at that point. Of course, Leclerc's out of position, but they might as well make an impact when that tyre's nice and fresh.
Carlos Sainz comes into the pits on board with Nico Hulkenberg, who's gaining that Renault power, gaining on the Honda-powered Toro Rosso towards 130R. Is he going to dive down the inside? Hulkenberg, he thought about it, but then realised he was a bit too far behind. Behind Hulkenberg, Sergio Perez is waiting and ready to pounce as well, and he's got DRS assistance this time as the Renault driver, as he pulls out and goes wheel to wheel with Danny Kvyat, and then ahead of the Russian into 9th, and Perez is going to get ahead of Kvyat as well. 2 cars getting past the Toro Rosso, and then suffers a huge amount of understeer going through turn 2 as a result of it.
Yeah, and Carlos Sainz staying ahead of Gasly crucially. So after that big long run that he's done, he's safe to the end of the Grand Prix, all bar some reliability issues.
Sainz going on to the medium tyre there that Pirelli say will do 35 laps in this race.
But having said that, Sainz's teammate, Lando Norris, he fitted that set of mediums after the contact with Albon and really got a lot of degradation and had to come in and fit the hard tyre and headed back out just recently as well.
So Charles Leclerc, whose progress we are watching here, now back down to 12th again, and he's gone soft, medium, soft. 25 laps, Pirelli say they can do. Those soft tyres should be okay to the end of the race then, on a set of soft compound tyre. As here goes Charles Leclerc on Danny Kvyat, and up into 11th place, another Toro Rosso. Second time he's got past Kvyat, that isn't it, going into the spoon curve. Ted, down to you.
Just looking at the racing points, actually, Crofty, we haven't spoken too much about them. Decent effort, great effort from Lance Stroll, isn't it, through the first round of pit stops.
Yeah.
And Sergio Perez as well hasn't really worked with Gasly. They all stopped around the same kind of time. But we're still waiting for Ricciardo to pit, aren't we? So see what Renault can rescue. No sign of a safety car or a virtual safety car. That would work, wouldn't it, for Ricciardo?
Oh, yeah.
That would save his weekend, but no sign of it so far. I hope that's not a commentator's curse.
Racing Point have scored with both cars, or that Silverstone-based team have, for the past 3 Japanese Grand Prix. And at the moment, they have got both cars in the points. Stroll 8th and Perez 10th. Into the pits comes Danny Kvyat. Means Daniel Ricciardo is the only driver out there who hasn't made a pit stop so far.
And he's suffering, Crofty. He's 1:37.3. If you think the leaders are doing 1:33.5, it's 4 seconds down the road. Hamilton still the quickest man on the track, 32.8. So that's down to 6.7 seconds between him and Vettel. Vettel's managed to control the gap to Bottas at 10.8, but I think Vettel will be coming in quite soon.
33.4, gap 7.6. We are Sam 2.
So that's just a gap, man. So now I've got to close the gap, yeah?
Copy, Lewis. You're doing that already.
Not happy with his strategy today, Lewis Hamilton, at all, and continuing to question what's going on. Corinne Chandok, to you.
Yeah, just wondering about the Ricciardo strategy. We've seen Renault do this on a number of occasions, I feel. Just keep going and going on that first stint. But as Paul said, his pace is way off other people in the midfield. Sainz versus Gasly, that's pretty much settled. Wonder if Albon will have to pit again, guys, because that could get a bit close between him and the McLaren, although he should come out cleanly in front. Leclerc should be able to get to the end of the race. They've just come on the radio to him saying, giving him that information Paul mentioned about Carlos, so he should be okay.
Albon and Sainz, by the way, they're the 2 drivers that are challenging Pierre Gasly for 6th place in the Drivers' Championship. Sainz will take that 6th place and ahead of Pierre Gasly if it all stays the way it is at the moment. Sebastian Vettel we're on board with.
But that's his drop in lap time is real long thing. Just thinking ahead for the medium.
He's in traffic at the moment, I'll let you know.
So would you like to bring me in? Might be the next part of that particular conversation.
Yeah, I think he's getting at if he's going to make an impact, you need to be trusting in your numbers that you're not going to suffer deg at the end when you catch up with them. You want to leave it as late as possible so when that charge continues, and if they fall off the cliff of him on the soft tyre when Bottas changes, because obviously Vettel's got that information. Here's Leclerc on the racing point. I think that's Sergio Perez, isn't it?
It is. Leclerc has made his way back up to 11th place now.
And Hülkenberg's obviously in front of him, so he's going to gain 2 positions quite quickly.
He's got no wing mirror on the left-hand side. He's got no end plate on his front wing on the left-hand side as well.
No, that's repaired.
Oh,
the wing's repaired.
He's struggling a touch behind the racing point. You can see that as we now look from that rear wing of Sergio Perez's racing point.
It's not slow in a straight line, that racing point, is
No,
it?
it's
got the
not.
Mercedes-Benz engine and it's always been slippy.
Ricciardo has come in to the pits. Finally, Daniel Ricciardo gets a new set of tyres, and finally he can come out into the race and start to hunt people down again. The second part of his race, he's what, down in 11th, so just behind Charles Leclerc.
He's got a nice new set of softs, Daniel Ricciardo.
On softs that will last him to the end of the race. He could, what do you reckon, be a targeting 7th, 8th around his teammate, possibly Daniel Ricciardo, by the end of this?
Yeah, I think he could get there. Leclerc likes that line. He gets out of the way so he gets the downforce, and then Luke makes a charge round here. Very tactical. Luke's picking it up. That's very well done. He's obviously been watching some videos.
Well,
he's gone the short way as well.
He'll want to watch this again as well. Sergio Perez is passed around 180R. And before they get to Spoon, the racing point is now out of the way as far as Leclerc is concerned.
The benefit of the soft tyre is bigger in slow corners as well, and because you can use it, very well done. So the Renault, I think, will be easier for him to overtake. And when you take the inside line on there, it's a shorter run to Spoon, and of course he can cover him if he had to block. But Perez isn't racing that car.
So it's just gone 7 o'clock back home in the UK, and if you haven't been with this race for the first 31 laps, you've actually missed an awful lot of action here. Only one driver's retired, Max Verstappen, who tangled with Charles Leclerc at the second corner. The stewards are going to look at that after the race. Leclerc, as you can see, is still in the race and trying to get past Nico Hülkenberg going into turn 2. Thought better of it on this particular occasion. Valtteri Bottas leads after Sebastian Vettel got a really bad start, almost made a false start, a jump start, stopped himself just in time, and then got away again, but he lost an awful lot of position, was passed by Bottas. Hamilton's currently running 3rd.
I think Sebastian's back in. Sebastian's in the pits.
And Sebastian Vettel is coming into the pits. Now, what's the betting that Lewis Hamilton comes into the pits at the same time as well? Because I can see the Mercedes crew making a move as Sebastian Vettel stops. No, the Mercedes crew might have been making a move, but Hamilton has managed to stay out, or decided to stay out, or called to stay out. Either way, Sebastian Vettel will come out looking at George Russell disappearing into turn 1, so Hamilton has decided to stay out. They were definitely making a move down at Mercedes and thinking about Lewis coming in.
So Bottas had to carve through all the traffic, and what Vettel did is they pulled him as soon as he got up to the back of them, so he didn't lose time. They pulled him in, which was the right thing to do. Just Leclerc on the Renault, same play.
It is, yeah.
Bit easier that way, taking the long way this time, but making a habit of this.
Well,
maybe that wing mirror being off, giving it a bit less drag.
Well, it's maybe he's just looking ahead a little bit more, Paul, not looking at his mirrors at all, but that's about the 4th move Charles Leclerc has made in that particular part of the tracks.
Hamilton's had to hurry up, just done the fastest first sector of anybody. Second quicker than Bottas as well, 32.779.
Hamilton then on the medium compound tyre. his teammate Valtteri Bottas on that same media tyre. Sebastian Vettel in and out, and he's switched to the mediums now after running the softs for the first 2 stints of this race. Ted Kravitz, Ferrari, trying something different today.
Yeah, but then Hamilton, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, the last stint with Hamilton. If indeed Hamilton is not going to be able to do the one stop, which you would have thought was his only chance, and whatever SAM 2 means for Mercedes in code, we think it's probably a 2-stop, whether Hamilton likes it or not. It's going to come out behind Vettel.
2 seconds, Ted.
Tyres are still good.
1.5 seconds unsafe to Vettel, so we'll push this one.
I'm in traffic now.
Yeah, copy.
It's funny, isn't it, Crofty? He's going to win the championship, but he's still fighting with every single nerve and bone in his body to win races, because he hasn't done for a while now, hasn't he? So, apart from the Russian Grand Prix.
And talking of that, I was going to say, Ted, talking of that championship, as a result of what's happened in this race so far, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are all out of championship contention, should it stay the way it is for the 2 Ferrari drivers. Which is probably not the biggest piece of news you'll ever hear today.
Yeah. But if Hamilton pits now, they need to give him, Mercedes needs to give him enough of an offset to have the younger tyres to have a go back at Vettel later on.
Here comes Charles Leclerc. Lance Stroll is the next driver that Charles Leclerc has decided he doesn't want to get held up by. That was with DRS a fairly easy move for him as he moves himself back up into 7th place. I say back up into 7th place, he didn't really last long in 7th before as he tumbled down the field after sustaining an awful lot of damage in that collision with Max Verstappen. And I'm sure, Paul, the debate will rage on. Leclerc, whatever he's doing on the track now, is there a bit of a shadow hanging over him because of the incident with Max Verstappen? It'll be talked about a lot. The stewards will talk about it as well. I think by what you were saying, you're expecting maybe a penalty coming Leclerc's way.
I'm expecting some penalty, but it would be nice to know what that penalty is, and Leclerc will. But what he'll have to keep doing is pushing as hard as possible. If it's a 5 or 10 second penalty, that will be added to his race time. So more of an impact he makes. Of course, if he knew it was 5 seconds, he would just get himself into the position he should deserve and then hold station. But he'll need to carry on all the way to the end of the Grand Prix.
And there'll be a few people saying, no, there shouldn't be a penalty at all. Let them race, let this happen, and if they crash, they crash.
The seat is loose. The seat is moving.
Okay.
Kevin Magnussen having an uncomfortable afternoon with his seat moving around, and at this point, Paul, into the braking zone of the chicane, you'll probably feel it quite drastically.
Yeah, you're obviously belted in the car as well, so you know it's safe enough in terms of if you had a crash, because the belts are not bolted to the seat, they're bolted to the monocoque.
Yeah, but really uncomfortable.
But the extreme loads around here, normally only a couple of fixings that keeps the seat in, but that's enough to keep it rigid. Obviously carbon fibre moulded to the driver's exact shape.
Oh, Charles Leclerc being held up here by Pierre Gasly. They're racing for position, so Gasly doing absolutely nothing wrong in that, but you could see how the Ferrari had to slow down dramatically through the first part of the S's. And where's he going to pick his moment to try and get past Pierre Gasly on this particular lap, I wonder?
I think he'll do what he's done all race, Crofty. He'll make an impact after the hairpin one. He seems to be able to run very close through Degna 1, Degna 2. And it's at this point here, he generally goes a bit wider if people tuck on the inside.
Lando Norris has just passed Kimi Räikkönen, by the way. He's in 14th now. Pierre Gasly goes nice and wide through the hairpin.
He takes a different line to the others, doesn't he? So Leclerc can't find that fresh downforce, but of course what he can find is a bit of slipstream.
And he gets that slipstream, and he goes through on the inside at Spoon. And if Gasly wanted to defend, there was no chance he was going to be able to do that because Leclerc was on him and pouncing.
He didn't go in there too hard though, didn't he? Daren't do that, so that's Albon in for another pit stop.
So he pits. Carlos Sainz is just making his way through the final chicane at the moment. I can see him out of our commentary box window, rounding the final turn, as well as we have a replay of Charles Leclerc on Pierre Gasly. And Alex Albon pits and stays ahead of Carlos Sainz, who really has pulled off some super moves today, as Charles Leclerc. 22nd birthday next Wednesday for the young man, the first Ferrari driver to take 4 consecutive poles since Michael Schumacher back in 2000, 2001, and the top scorer in the last 4 races coming into Japan. Meanwhile, Valtteri Bottas, winless since Baku. 8 podiums since then in those 12 races, but he hasn't stood on the top step. and he is round about 14 seconds clear of this man, his teammate Lewis Hamilton at the moment.
I've lost a load of time behind those guys.
Yeah, that traffic, Raikkonen, Kvyat, Norris and Giovinazzi that Hamilton was making his way through and lapping.
Yeah, there's a big bunch of them all the way from Giovinazzi to Raikkonen, and there's Norris and the Toro Rosso in there as well. We're hearing that Bottas is probably going to be coming in this lap. He's got a chunk of traffic coming up as well, so tactical moves by them. But what Bottas is...
Box.
Bottas is going to have to overtake Hamilton on track if he wants to win this Grand Prix.
Hamilton, now he's free of that traffic. He's just set a fastest first sector. He's got Romain Grosjean to try and lap as well. But he will be trying to make as much time up as he possibly can and make life a little more difficult for his teammate Valtteri Bottas. And Mercedes on the verge of the Constructors' Championship here, Paul. They're going to have to let their drivers race even in that final stint here because they put them on two separate strategies.
6 in a row, isn't it, Crofty, if they get this today?
Absolutely. 6 double championships in a row, the way this race is shaping out as well, because Vettel and Verstappen and Leclerc, the only others that could win a driver's title are all out of the equation. In comes Bottas. Ted.
What an outstanding job Bottas has done so far, hasn't he, Crofty?
Yep.
Got away with that little hesitation, as you mentioned at the start. It just takes a little visor tear off as he passes me in the pit lane on the way to his crew. But he's absolutely nailed it and has got a very comfortable, arty shot, comfortable lead over Vettel when he comes out again. Nice work, the Mercedes guys doing their job as well, and rejoins very safely back after that stop. But surely, come on, Lewis, it's the only chance is to hang it out now. Ignore those 2 stops. Let's see what he can do on a 1 stop. It's probably not going to work, but it's his only chance now, isn't it?
Well, you'd imagine so, yes. Valtteri Bottas has got a bit of traffic to clear and lap once again before he gets towards his teammate on fresher tyres. Can Hamilton hold him off? Can Bottas find his way past? And can he pull the rest to celebrate a 100 points finish this weekend in Formula 1 with a victory?
It's a big ask. I mean, Hamilton's still very quick on the track. He's 4/10 quicker than what Vettel's doing at the moment. But it's at the dying stages of this Grand Prix what's going to happen, and that's where it's all going to get either a disaster for Hamilton or equally genius by the team to put him on a different strategy. Of course, you'll feel hard done by for Valtteri Bottas because you had a comfortable margin, yet he's had the slower strategy. I wonder what they predicted was going to be best at the start of this race.
If you've been with us back in the UK and you've watched every single minute of our coverage throughout the night and you're feeling a little bit tired, now is a good time to splash some ice cold water over your face, get a couple of matchsticks, prop open those eyelids, because it's all going to unfold in the next 16 laps and you would not want to miss the finish of what has been a thrilling Japanese Grand Prix so far. And if all that fails, then Paul and I will just shout a little bit louder to try and help you stay awake. We're on board with Sebastian Vettel, who's got Kevin Magnussen ahead of him. And then ahead of that, Valtteri Bottas is laps Danny Kvyat. And he's now going to try and lap Lando Norris and Antonio Giovinazzi and then Romain Grosjean as well. And when he's done that, he can think about chasing his teammate Lewis Hamilton. The gap between the two Mercedes drivers, 8.5 seconds with 15 laps to go.
Yeah, he's got by a couple of cars just at the early stage of that, so he's getting blue flags. I think he's going by Giovinazzi as we speak, so he's got Grosjean and then it's only Hamilton in front, and Hamilton's got a lot of cars in front of him.
Tell me what I need to do to win this race.
And what is the answer? Carry on as you are, Lewis. Go a little bit faster, Lewis. Watch out for Sebastian Vettel, Lewis. Watch out for your teammate Valtteri Bottas, Lewis. Any one of those combinations, really. We've got 19 running here at Suzuka. Only Max Verstappen is out. And he's been speaking to Rachel Brooks.
Sorry to see you standing here while the race is still going on. Just talk me through the start, because initially you got a great start, but then there was that contact with Charles.
Yeah, we had a really good start for once, so that was a positive. And then I just stayed on the outside. I mean, I felt like I was in third, but then suddenly into turn 2, Charles just drove into the side of my car. So I don't know, from my side I don't think I could have done anything different there. We all know that you lose downforce behind the car, so that is not an excuse. I mean, I think he's experienced enough to know that. But yeah, then for me the weird thing is that initially they don't even investigate it. I mean, my whole car is destroyed, the whole side. Like there were just holes on the side of the car. And then they start to investigate it, but now it's after the race. I mean, what more should he do to get a penalty? So, I mean, I like hard racing, but I don't think this was hard racing. This was just irresponsible driving into turn 2. I mean, they had a bad start, so for sure he was trying to recover places, but, you know, there's only as much as you can do, and it's still a very long race. So, yeah, it's a shame that it happened. And then also, just watching the footage back from Seb's start, I mean, he moves, he stops. In the rules says you cannot move, and that's fine because he didn't gain an advantage, they said. So I really don't understand what's going on today with the rules.
I think you've answered every question I had in your answer. Good job. I'm sorry to see you standing here. Thanks, Max.
He is a very, very unhappy man, is Max Verstappen. Hashtag Ask Crofty after the race. You can discuss all that. Karun, to you. We can't hear Karun. Karun at race control.
Valtteri Bottas has been on the radio. There's been lots of questions from him saying, are you sure Lewis is pitting? Think back to Silverstone, guys, when Lewis converted his own strategy to one stop. That's in the back of Valtteri's mind. They've told him, yes, Lewis will be pitting again, and that he's also safe in case of a VSC. Think of the situation in Sochi for Ferrari. So Bottas has been told. Now, does Lewis listen to that strategy?
What would you do if you were Lewis Hamilton, Paul di Resta?
I'd hang on the set of tyres you're on, but of course it's against the team, and that's where they've not been racing each other, so they've just done something different. But at the same time, I'm surprised that he told Valtteri that, because what it does is it gives Ferrari know that Hamilton's going to stop, so they just have to do enough to gain track position.
Well, at the moment, Lewis Hamilton is 17.5 seconds clear of Sebastian Vettel. He's lapping. Last lap, 9/10 faster than Sebastian Vettel. He needs to build a gap of about 23 seconds to Vettel to pit and come out ahead of the Ferrari. If he can't do that, Paul, then you would argue Lewis Hamilton could justify not pitting again, because he'd then lose track position to Vettel.
But Hamilton will come out in striking distance, won't he?
Well, he will.
On a fresh set of tyres.
On a fresh set of tyres. But I'm saying he could have that as an argument to justify his decision, if indeed he wants to stay out once again. And for the second race running, we get anarchy in terms of what a driver is expected to do and what a driver eventually does do.
What a race Carlos Sainz is having. He's miles in front of Pierre Gasly, absolutely miles if you look at the graphic. And I'm watching the GPS tracker that we've got, and he's just in a different bit of the track, minding his own business.
This is Charles Leclerc, who's in between those two drivers. He doesn't want to do that many more times.
You don't want to hit that curb. That's a nasty one. That can throw you well out, but that just shows you the downforce that Ferrari's got at the moment.
It's balanced very nicely. After Singapore, they worked really hard up into that upgrade at Singapore to balance the front, the rear wing, and it's working beautifully. Lando Norris, by the way, you just talking about Carlos Sainz. Lando Norris is now up into 12th, but Norris is got Daniel Ricciardo now ahead of him, and Ricciardo is a long way ahead of him. Just thinking, if Lando Norris thinks there's a points finish coming, he's going to have to do some to get that. Mercedes need to outscore Ferrari by 14 points then to win the Constructors' Championship. At the moment, they are taking 43 points. Sebastian Vettel has 16 points in the bag. Well, not in the bag. One of them is fastest lap. That could change. And Charles Leclerc has 8 points. So 16 and 8 is 24. 43 minus 24 is how many, Paul di Resta? 19. Does that make Mercedes Constructors champions? By my logic, it does.
I wasn't really listening to you there, sorry, Crofty.
I was giving you I was showing my working in the margins for you.
I was looking at something else there. I'm looking at the battle from Gasly down to Danny Rick. It's 3 seconds of a difference between those cars. And you know Daniel, he's on the freshest tyres of any of those at the back of the queue, and you know he's a pretty good overtaker. Equally, you've got Hülkenberg in there, you've got Stroll, you've got Perez, who's a very good racer. I think this is the battle.
Right, so...
Ricciardo's by Perez, actually, so he's already working his way through. When did that happen?
That happened on that last lap, and it's only just happened as well. So Ricciardo is up into the points. I did think 7th might be possible for him on that one. Hülkenberg is not going to let Ricciardo pass very easily, you would imagine. I mean, not that Lance Stroll would accept it either as well, but it's quite a battle between the two Renault drivers. They come into this race, Hülkenberg and Ricciardo level on 34 points as well. And there's your race leader then. Sorry, there's your race second, Valtteri Bottas. Your race leader is Lewis Hamilton. He's 8.3 seconds clear.
Oh, here's Ricardo.
This is how it happened. Which way are you going to go? Which way are you going to go? Switches out to go around the outside at the very last minutes. So 8.3 seconds between Hamilton and Bottas. Sebastian Vettel is 18.5 seconds behind Hamilton. So if he comes in now, Ted Kravitz, he's not going to get out ahead of the Ferrari.
But does Bottas trust in Hamilton? Because if he doesn't and thinks that Hamilton might one stop, then he needs to be taking, what, 7/10 of a second at least?
He's coming in this lap, I believe.
Hang on, Ted.
Okay.
I think they've told Lewis to box.
Yeah,
now, whether he comes in, I don't know. But they've told him, and they are moving out into the pit lane. Here he comes.
Hard now.
Yeah.
What do you think I've been doing this fast? God knows how many laps. Tires are dropping off.
Copy Lewis, box.
Here he comes, right in front of me, Lewis Hamilton. Heaven knows what he's thinking in his helmet. Would he like to have stayed out? Maybe. But I think we should just consider the bigger picture as well, guys. For Mercedes, it's all about the constructors today, I think. Don't you?
Well, yes. That's what they came here to win. Drivers' Championship can wait, but I think for Valtteri Bottas, this is a day where, for his own personal confidence going into the back end of the season, the start of next, he needs to win this race, and he's back out in the lead of this race now from Sebastian Vettel.
It's going to make him feel a lot more comfortable as well. Vettel's in the middle of that. Vettel is going to be kicking himself for that start.
Yeah,
absolutely kicking himself.
Well, this could have been that what Valtteri Bottas has done today could easily have been Sebastian Vettel if he'd have got the getaway. If it had got lights out and away we go and gone.
You can show you the pressure that's building up on that individual. There's fractures there, isn't there? That's something that Sebastian Vettel wouldn't have done 4 or 5 years ago when he was on pole position, but he knows he needs to make everything perfect if he's got any chance of winning Grand Prix, and he overshot it. His reactions were out. Yes, he's not got a penalty, but he had to stop and it threw him off, and that's where Bottas pounced on it.
I've not got chance, Paul, because there's an awful lot going on to read the sporting regulations at the moment. But Max Verstappen saying there, if you move, then it's a false start. But your understanding is if you move and go ahead of the line in your grid spot, that's when it's a false start, as Kimi did in Russia.
So if you stop now, we'll need to clear 6 cars.
But why should we stop actually?
Because
I mean, I'm
tire life and fastest lap.
Okay.
Well, he's happy. He wants to stay out. They want to give him the fastest lap if he can.
I wouldn't worry about the fastest lap. He's in a good position, isn't he? And of course, what they've got, I think what they're not thinking about is the penalty that might be occurred as well at the end of the Grand Prix. That would, you know, if you were closer to those group of cars, Gasly to Ricardo, that would throw you out the point. That's insane to me.
Yeah, I think listen to the driver, and if he says he's happy at this moment in time, leave him out there. Karun Chandler's at race control, and I've never seen him look more perplexed by a race engineer's radio message than he did about 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, is this Ferrari just overcomplicating it again? You know, just it's simple.
I'm glad you put the word again in that, to be fair.
Well, that's just, you know, he's got a gap over the pack. Getting that 1 extra point for fastest lap, they're dropping him, as Paul says, into a train. He gets penalised. He's going to look. What is the point? Just let him keep going.
He's still
and he's only 6 seconds behind Sainz.
He's still 1.4 seconds a lap quicker than that group and still pulling away. So even a 10-second penalty implied, he's still going to finish where he is. But he's at risk of that, of taking a 23-second pit stop. Yes, he's going to get benefit, but going to have to pass 6 cars.
Lewis Hamilton, by the way, is on course to take the fastest lap of this race so far after making his pit stop, and it's going to put him very much within striking distance in a couple of laps of Sebastian Vettel. You get the live timing data and the insights by AWS, but you can see with the naked eye there how Hamilton is slicing his way through those that are being lapped and getting very, very close, or much closer, to the Ferrari in front. And he has indeed set the new fastest lap of this race with a 1:31.5. He's 14 seconds behind his teammate. He's about 3 seconds, or 2.5 seconds behind Sebastian Vettel. This is the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg. Locks up going into the chicane in a bid to try and get past Lance Stroll. And Hulkenberg has been passed since that moment by his teammate, Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo is up into 9th place. There he goes.
I think Daniel's got the advantage of those fresher tyres on the softs, hasn't he?
He did 29 laps on the medium tyre, Ricciardo.
I'll let you have a go now.
Thank you. I will get them.
Yeah, helped him out a little bit there, and Renault said, look, swap it around. Cyril Abitbol, who's 42 years old, tomorrow watching on. At the moment, getting a double points finish for his team. Ted, down to you.
And hasn't Ricciardo just got Stroll?
Yes, he has.
So he has got him. That Stroll's been honey badgered, and he's going to try and get after Gasly, but that's what, 22 seconds ahead? No, 1.9. So he's got a chance. Quick one on Hamilton. He's now going after Sebastian Vettel at a very, very, very quick pace, and I would suggest he's going to get him a couple of laps time.
Going through the S's, as you can see, new lap record for Lewis Hamilton. Now, I'm told by someone who's actually got a calculator in front of him that fastest lap for Lewis Hamilton gives the Constructors' Championship for Mercedes. That gives them the 14 points they need to outscore Ferrari by. Hence the show we might need to pit and go for the fastest lap here. This is Daniel Ricciardo. One go at Lance Stroll, and then he gets him down the main straight.
It was perfect, because what he did is he compromised Stroll, and Stroll just couldn't defend him there. So
he has been honey badgered then.
Yeah, he worked it very well.
Sebastian Vettel on his way towards Spoon Curve, and there you can see the Mercedes chasing after him, and Hamilton has already gone 0.6 of a second faster on this lap than Sebastian Vettel has managed. It's now the gap down to a second. If he keeps on like this, he'll have DRS assistance going down the main straight. Another 0.2 taken out in the middle sector of this lap by Hamilton on Vettel. Paul.
Ricciardo versus Gasly. He's not going to get it done this time down into turn 1, but is Hamilton going to have enough? That's more the battle that we want to follow.
Sebastian Vettel hasn't got much defence, you would imagine, against the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton as they cross the line. 0.8 of a second between the two cars. Out in front, Valtteri Bottas leads by 10 seconds. Thank you very much, Paul di Resta. He is now running down towards Parc Fermé to interview the top 3. But in what order are the top 3 going to finish? It's Bottas, Vettel, Hamilton at the moment. Karun Chandhok will take his place alongside me in the commentary box. I have thoroughly enjoyed this Japanese Grand Prix so far.
It's been great, hasn't it? Strategy, on-track action, lots going on, especially with the leaders. We don't often see the leaders having to battle each other wheel to wheel, but here we're going to have a bit more of that.
There's something to be said, Karun, for qualifying on a Sunday morning and then racing in the afternoon as well. If it gives us action like this.
I've enjoyed Super Sunday. The adrenaline's kicked in about 7 a.m. and not come down at all.
It's the best way to fight off the jet lag when you come to Japan, I tell you. On board with Lewis Hamilton then, and they are out in the pit lane for Charles Leclerc to come in and make a stop. They want that point, and he is coming in, is Charles Leclerc. They want that point to Ferrari for a fastest lap here. Hamilton wants to bag himself a second place in this race as he's after Sebastian Vettel. There is Charles Leclerc, soft tyres going on. Who is your driver of the day? Some of you might vote for Charles Leclerc given the overtaking that's been going on. If you're Dutch, you probably won't, and Max Verstappen certainly wouldn't, blaming Leclerc for the incident and wondering why he's not been given a penalty as a result. Nico Hulkenberg gets past Lance Stroll and moves up into 9th place. Here's Hamilton going into turn 1, having a look, but deciding against it. And you can see how the Ferrari is struggling compared to the Mercedes as that corner tightens up, and Hamilton on the fresher tyres getting very, very close indeed, but not past.
It's going to be very critical for Lewis to get a good toe out of Spoon Curve, because we know the Ferrari is very quick in a straight line, but the only real overtaking spot nowadays is into turn 1, into the chicane, because into turn 1, they're so fast, it's hard to outbrake someone.
Yeah.
Lewis has got to come out of Spoon Curve right behind Sebastian Vettel.
I mean, the only real breaking points in the turn 1. Have you watched Charles Leclerc today? Into Spoon Curve, Karun.
Against a guy in a similar car, I mean.
Absolutely.
You know,
No,
Leclerc's come through the midfield pack.
You're quite right. Well, let's see if Hamilton can get anywhere near into Spoon Curve, proving you right, he can't. On that one.
They're chucking it in there in 5th gear now, but look, this is important. He's getting close, got more grip, no fresher time. But look how the Ferrari just launches off the corner. Hamilton now in the slipstream. He's not really gaining enough, is he, up the chicane?
Well, that straight line speed of the Ferrari as well, very much keeping it ahead down that straight. And well, you wonder if Sebastian Vettel is canny about this, he might be able to keep the Mercedes at bay because he's got that straight line speed advantage, even though he hasn't got the grip that Hamilton has coming out of the corners. And there's traffic as well ahead. I said it's not back markers. Stroll's actually 10th at the moment. DRS for Lewis Hamilton, gets him under half a second behind the Ferrari, but not close enough to make a move. And I think both of these drivers would like to see a second DRS zone here at Suzuka, but there's nowhere really to put it, because at the end of the back straight, there's no braking point to slam that DRS shut. I think Hamilton certainly would like a bit of extra DRS assistance at the moment, because he probably would be past the Ferrari by now. Behind these two, Alex Albon runs in 4th. Carlos Sainz is 5th at the moment, and 7.5 seconds behind. Leclerc up to 6th, new set of tyres. We'll watch him go for a fastest lap in a moment. Then Ricciardo.
Can I unlap myself, or otherwise I just take a gap and I do the lap?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
So Leclerc is asking to unlap himself. Just be careful.
You're not racing him, let him do it. Remember Ocon and Verstappen in Brazil last year, when Verstappen didn't really let Ocon unlap himself, and the two tangled once on the track and then once on the weighbridge afterwards as well. Completing the points after Gasly, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg and then Stroll, and they have been lapped from 6th, Charles Leclerc, all the way down to Robert Kubica, who's running last. Max Verstappen the only one out.
Yeah, Stroll did a good job there, getting out of the way of the guys in 2nd and 3rd
Hamilton's
place.
Closer here.
He is closer, he's got control, but this is the problem, as I was saying, they enter turn 1 so fast. There isn't enough of a braking zone to outbrake a rival in a similar car, which is what Lewis has got. It's only 3 laps to go, and that traffic, though, is going to help Lewis, because Vettel's in the dirty air. Vettel won't have the downforce as much as he wants, as Ricciardo and then Gasly and Hülkenberg all in front of that Ferrari.
It's about 180 miles an hour. The speed going into turn 1, exceptionally fast. On board with Hamilton, you see the sun starting to sink lower into the sky here. We tick past 3:30 in the afternoon. We're on lap 50 of 53, and that is how the traffic might just be helping Lewis Hamilton a bit here. Nico Hülkenberg, through no fault of his own, compromising Sebastian Vettel. Hülkenberg keeps out of the way of Vettel, keeps out of the way of Hamilton. That helps Hamilton more than it did Sebastian Vettel, and they've still got Daniel Kvyat and the Toro Rosso ahead of them, and now Hamilton might get a really good slipstream now. He's a lot closer to the Ferrari down that back straight. The Ferrari's got better straight line speed, of course, but can Hamilton stick to within a few car lengths of Sebastian Vettel before they get to the main straight of the DRS? Sebastian Vettel once again has a car in front of him that has held him up. Daniel Kvyat didn't do a very much good job there for Sebastian Vettel. Now Hamilton's within 2 car lengths. Now he's got DRS. Now he senses that second place could be his in the race. Sebastian Vettel pulls out to the inside. Hamilton tries to go round the outside, and he just is missing a couple, 3-4 miles an hour of pace advantage. Had he have got that, he'd have got second place.
Yeah, the Kvyat really didn't do Vettel a favour there. He should have got out of the way, I think, before the chicane. Look at Hamilton. He's got so much more grip on these fresher tyres. He's able to use different lines just to get a bit of clean air on his front wing, but it's not enough.
Apologies to Danny Kvyat. That was Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso as well. That's me one for the afternoon then. 51 out of 53 laps.
I just followed you as well, didn't I?
You should know by now, it's a very bad move. But yes, no, that was Pierre Gasly. My only defence, Karun, is that the sun sinks so low in the sky around about this time of day. It's now starting to come through into our commentary box, and we are staring straight at it. Thank you to whoever put up a tinted window in our commentary box here. Otherwise, the prescription sunglasses have come out again. Bottas leads by 14 seconds. Charles Leclerc is going for that fastest lap.
He's not.
And Spark 4 for more performance. Spark 4 for more performance.
Right, so they've given Vettel more power. Leclerc, interestingly, has backed off from Bottas. He's not actually unlapped himself. He's backed off to give himself a gap. They've gone past our commentary box. And I expect this lap he's really going to go for the fastest lap.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it too much more because Ricciardo isn't that far behind him. Here we go again, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Vettel's looking in his wing mirrors. Vettel is staying ahead comfortably on that particular occasion.
I need more power.
Yeah, Seb's been given more power. Lewis now wants a bit more power himself. Hamilton desperate to make this a Mercedes 1-2, and that certainly would seal the Constructors' Championship.
It's a really frustrating feeling for a driver when you come out of the corner and you see your rival punch away from you out of the corner, and there's nothing you can do even in the toe. It is a really frustrating thing in the cockpit. You're literally smashing your right foot through the bulkhead, but it's not, you know, just wishing for more power, but it's not there.
Hamilton then, with no back markers to help him out on this particular occasion. And there, once again, we can see the condition of the tyres here and how much Lewis Hamilton's tyres have been degrading more than Sebastian Vettel's because he's run so close to him for so many laps now.
Yeah, that's right. You can see the rear tyres now as well, down 10% they say on the rear right, but he's still there. He's still in the tow.
So, through 130R they go. And onto the final lap goes our race leader, Valtteri Bottas. What an afternoon this is for Valtteri Bottas. What an afternoon it could be in 3.5 miles' time for Mercedes as well. Sebastian Vettel under pressure once more from Lewis Hamilton. Is Hamilton going to get a chance into turn one? No, he's not. He's a bit too far behind. But as the corner tightens up, Hamilton closes there, and second place is tantalisingly within his grasp, but he's just not getting it. And talking of not getting things, Charles Leclerc is not looking like he's in a position at the moment to get a fastest lap. The point for the fastest lap introduced for this season. Oh, and out of the race! Out of the race is Sergio Perez. And out of the points is Sergio Perez as well. And he has gone off at the S's.
The exit of turn two, Crofty. It's kept the engine on, but he's gone off at the exit of turn two. And that will, the last lap.
And that will definitely stop Charles Leclerc claiming a fastest lap for this race and a point with it. And because Lewis Hamilton has the fastest lap in this race, that one extra point will give Mercedes the Constructors' Championship here today.
I'm not sure. Leclerc was through sector one. It's only yellow in sector one. Leclerc at the moment in sector two. So I think...
Is he definitely through?
Yeah, he was through the yellow. He's ahead on the track mapper. So,
okay.
And he's gone purple in the middle sector. So I think Leclerc could still do it.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that as we look now for the race leader, Valtteri Bottas, who's making his way out to the final turn. Valtteri Bottas, winless since Baku, has taken the Japanese Grand Prix. Well done to Valtteri Bottas. Sebastian Vettel is holding off Lewis Hamilton to make it second place for Ferrari. Hamilton finishes third, and Charles Leclerc hasn't taken the fastest lap of the race. He tried it on the final lap, which means Mercedes are crowned Constructors' Champions for 2019. And because they didn't outscore Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen are out of the title contention. Mercedes will win a 6th consecutive Constructors and Drivers title.
Yes, Valtteri, you are the man. Well done.
Yes! Missed that feeling, guys. Thank you.
His 100th points finish ends in victory for Valtteri Bottas, who is the only man now that can challenge Lewis Hamilton for the Drivers' Championship. No constructor has ever taken 6 successive double world championships. That's what Mercedes will do this season. This is what happened to Sergio Perez. Now, did he tangle with the Toro Rosso?
Hard to see from that angle, isn't it? Here we go. Oh, yes.
The answer is yes.
There, yeah.
So Pierre Gasly was the driver on the inside in a race that started with 2 cars colliding at turn 2, ends with 2 different cars colliding at turn 2.
in a similar way, really, to the one of the first lap, isn't it? Gasly was a little bit more to the inside than Leclerc was on that instance. But listen, let's go back to Valtteri Bottas. Fastest in the practice sessions, out-qualified Lewis Hamilton, out-dragged Sebastian Vettel down to turn 1, and then dominated the Grand Prix with superb pace. Really a faultless drive.
Yeah, we're running a bit out of tires, guys, but it was crucial to keep him behind. Good job, guys. Grazie.
Well, he did keep Lewis Hamilton behind, but it's another what-if moment for Sebastian Vettel, who only found himself behind the Mercedes because Karun, he got the start wrong and he went too early, stopped himself, but then lost that ability to get off the line cleanly when others made a better reaction.
I still think he would have struggled to win the race today against two Mercedes cars, even if he got the lead at start, because the tyre day on the Ferrari was so much higher than the Mercedes. I think with two drivers in the fight, they could have done him strategically at the pit stop. So I think Bottas fully has deserved that win. He drove to win there, and this team well happy with that.
They are celebrating Mercedes, another Constructors' Championship. Congratulations to all at Brixworth and Brackley.
Lewis, this is a total difficult day today, but we've just won the Constructor Championship for 6th time in a row. Thank you very much. Thank you for your help, for your support. Great driving.
Congratulations, guys.
Doesn't sound very happy about it.
No, he's not a happy bunny, is he? But listen, that's why he's a great competitor. He's only happy when he wins. He's finished 11 seconds behind his teammate. That's never something that's going to please him.
No, something Valtteri Bottas has found himself getting used to during the course of this season. Coming into this race, though, Bottas was on 249 points. He only scored 247 points last season, so he was already having a better season than last. And he won twice already this year, had Valtteri Bottas, the season-opening race in Australia and in Azerbaijan as well, and he's made it a hat-trick of wins now in 2019. And that will put a massive smile on his face.
It'll be a massive boost for his confidence. This is, right now, the ultimate driver circuit on the calendar. I think it's a bigger challenge than Spa, it's a bigger challenge than Silverstone. And for him to have dominated that team battle, inter-team battle this weekend, will be a real boost for him.
And I think a deserving winner of Driver of the Day as well. The overtakes were supplied by Charles Leclerc, who will go off to see the stewards after this race, following that incident with Max Verstappen, and the stewards also looking at that Gasly-Perez collision as well. Congratulations are offered by Lewis Hamilton and also by Sebastian Vettel. All the rest are waiting to talk to the drivers down there. It's an incredible achievement, though, for everyone who works tirelessly, Paul, to design the chassis, to work on the car, and then at Brixworth to work on the power as well, to produce 6 successive double world championships. Never been done in the history of Formula One.
Yeah, no, fantastic achievement. Leclerc will be disappointed with his day, isn't he?
He was on the outside and I had someone in front and we just... What happened to you? I saw it.
That's the Ferrari debrief. That's the Ferrari debrief, and Charles Leclerc explaining what happened with Max Verstappen. We'll put a microphone in front of the top 3 now, I think.
Congratulations, Valtteri. You know, qualifying P3 in Suzuka, you don't expect to lead into turn 1, but Sebastian made a mistake, you pounced on it, and you absolutely dominated that race in classic style. You must be delighted.
Yeah, I'm happy, very happy, you know. Obviously it was pretty close qualifying, and yeah, starting third here is never easy, but obviously no point ever to give up on anything, and I knew anything is possible today, and opportunities were today there. And first one was at the start. I had a really nice start, and obviously Sebastian had an issue, so yeah, managed to get to the lead, and then the pace was super good. I could really control the race, and I really enjoyed it, had fun, so yeah, very happy.
Were you a little bit worried when you obviously pulled you into the pits and said you were on a 2-stop strategy, or was that always a plan? But did you think you were going to have to overtake Lewis?
Yeah, we knew that 1 or 2 stop are possible, and there's not like a massive difference between the 2 of them, and so we knew it could be a scenario, and yeah, everything went smooth. Could really control it when I could and pushed when I wanted, so it was nice.
And to top off the day, Mercedes just won their 6th Constructors title in a row. I guess you must be delighted with that.
Yeah, really proud, obviously, to be part of the team. 6th title in a row is so impressive, so very proud of every single team member here at the race team and also at the factory, so well done, guys and girls.
Thank you, Valtteri. Enjoy the evening. Sebastian, congratulations. I know after qualifying you put it on pole position, but I have to talk about the start. What happened? Because you moved and had to stop. Was it a mistake on your behalf?
Yeah, I mean, the lights were on a long time, but it was my mistake, so I lost the momentum there. So I ended up worse than just having a poor start. It was a really poor start, and yeah, then it was difficult because Mercedes was quite quick in the race. I think especially the back of the stint, they had more pace than us, so yeah, Valtteri was flying literally in the end of the first stint. And then obviously Lewis tried to do one stop, but I guess it didn't work, and in the end I knew that he would come out behind, and I just paced myself around all the bits of the track where I could and just tried to get good exits on the places where he could be a threat. So that worked, but yeah, it was obviously a tough afternoon to then maintain second.
Do you think if you hadn't made that mistake at the start, the win was possible?
I don't know, because then they can obviously play a lot more the tactics. So obviously that way they had one car comfortably in the lead, and Valtteri was out of, you know, we weren't a threat for him. But yeah, I think the lack of pace today, probably second was the maximum, but surely I'm not happy with the very first start of the race. But after that it was fine. As I said, we just lacked a little bit of pace, but overall it's been a positive day, you know, everything packed in one day, and to get pole and second today is, I think, reasonable. It's a bit of a shame. I don't know what happened to Charles. Otherwise we could have had both cars to maybe challenge them a bit more.
Congratulations anyway. Lewis, got to say congratulations. I know everything you did today, you never really got let loose. You were always kind of in the mix, but when you were free, you had the pace and a challenge all the way to the end.
Yeah, well, firstly, it's congratulations to the team. It's so well deserved to win it 6 years in a row, the Constructors' Championship, so that's the main point. I really just wanted to get the best points for the team today.
And looking ahead, now that it's just down to the drivers, do you suspect that you and Valtteri will be battling out all the way a bit more freely, that Constructors' Championship's over and done with?
Well, it makes no difference because we've been racing freely all year, so.
Yeah, but it'll be a hard fight all the way to the end.
For sure.
Okay, all the best.
Paul di Resta with the interviews down in Parc Fermé. What were we saying before the race? Karun Chan, no one ever wins at Suzuka from row 2, from the second row of the grid. Well, Valtteri Bottas has proved that stat completely irrelevant for now. Crowd here as well, and the fans now being allowed in an orderly fashion to make their way onto the track.
Yeah, you could see them marching down the straight actually below.
It's like a protest march, isn't it? And there's a banner, there's 2 flags, Red Bull and Ferrari side by side. Well done to Valtteri Bottas, victor today ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Well done to Alex Albon for his best ever results in Formula One, and equaling the best result for a Thai driver as well. You have to go back to 1954 France when Prince Bira finished 4th. Carlos Sainz, 5th place for him, his 50th points finish in Formula One, his 3rd top 5 finish of the season. Charles Leclerc finished in 6th place ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Super race from 16th on the grid. Pierre Gasly finishes 8th ahead of Sergio Perez, who finishes 9th, and Nico Hülkenberg, who finishes in 10th place. Perez and the rest were all a lap down, so they all remain classified. Let's hear what's happening in the cool-down room.
Boring, not for you.
Congratulations, sir.
Yes.
Start.
Like you. Not as good as you.
Yeah. Yeah, more penalty because you stopped.
Not much going on in the cool-down room. There'll be plenty of celebrations on the way back to the UK for the Mercedes team.
can't remember who come in. When Lewis came in the pits, they fucking straight on your face.
Debriefing with the marshals going on down there as well. Only one retirement in this race. Max Verstappen, of course, missed opportunity there for Max Verstappen. Toto Wolff can finally smile. The pressure is off him now because he's delivered another Constructors' Championship, and that's what pays out the money, Kroon.
Yeah, and also I think, you know, for him, he re-signed Valtteri. It was a tough decision between Valtteri and Ocon, but it's races and weekends really like this that underlines that faith that Toto put in Valtteri to re-sign it for 2020. So, you know, at the end of the day, we all expect Lewis it's a question of when Lewis wraps up the championship, not if. So for Toto now, between now and the end of the year, it'll be quite good to have Valtteri win a couple more races because that'll give him a boost heading into the winter break.
Before last year, you know, when Lewis Hamilton won the title, that was always the cue, wasn't it, for his number two or the second driver in the team to go off and win a few races. And last year he rather put that one to bed as well. Go Seb, says the banner, and he admitted himself, you know, it was his mistake right at the start of this race that rather cost him dear, and then compounded, of course, by Charles Leclerc's collision with Max Verstappen. Just to remind you, the stewards will see both of those drivers at the end. There's a man I'm sure would love to have been in Valtteri Bottas's place today. Could have been in that seat for next season, but Esteban Ocon will be at Renault instead. Double points finish for Renault today. Lewis Hamilton's out there already onto the podium to be joined by Sebastian Vettel, runner-up here at Suzuka today. Ferrari still wait for a first win at Suzuka since 2004. It's the first time since 2012 they've finished as runners-up here as well. And for the first time since Azerbaijan, Valtteri Bottas wins a Grand Prix and takes the top step. So a 99th victory in Formula One for Mercedes, and a 100th points finish ending with victory for Valtteri Bottas. Well done, driver of the day by far.
Yeah, absolutely. Sterling performance really all weekend, and the team as well. Be very happy with the 1-3 in the Constructors' Championship.
Eric's on the podium. Eric Blandon, the chief aerodynamicist, picking up the Constructors' Trophy. Sebastian Vettel's first podium here since 2015. Coulda, shoulda, might have been a bigger trophy than that. You thought today Mercedes would have had him covered?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, ultimately, you know, there was only one guy operating the clutch paddle, car number 5, and that was him. And he made that error, made it even harder for himself. But I don't think they had the race pace. I think Mercedes, with that better tyre deck, would have covered him off.
Hamilton doesn't look overly happy about third place. He wanted to win this one. It was his teammate who picked up the victory and drinks in the success here in Suzuka on this Super Sunday. One by one, the challengers put up a fight to Mercedes, but in 2019, they've come out on top again. Mercedes are Constructors' champions. Valtteri Bottas is your winner in Japan. It's just him or Lewis Hamilton now for the Drivers' Championship.
And that is history being made. 6 Constructors' titles, and no one can catch other than Mercedes to confirm 6 drivers in a row. That's never been done before. Ferrari did 6 Constructors in a row between 99 and 2004, but with Mika Häkkinen winning drivers in 99, it wasn't the double-double, if you like, 6 years running. So well done to Mercedes, well done to Valtteri Bottas. What a blistering start it was to the race. He caught Vettel napping after it appeared that he moved before the red light, the last red light, went out. Lewis Hamilton unhappy with the performance and the strategy today, but nevertheless he cannot be complaining about the fact that they have done it again. Well done to Mercedes. They have just been unbeatable in the turbo hybrid era. Right, before we get a chance to talk to Toto Wolff and congratulate him once again, let's just tell you about what else is coming your way on Sky. You'll be able to see all episodes right now of Catherine the Great, Sky Original on Sky Atlantic. Manchester United against Liverpool is next Sunday, Super Sunday, from